Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Gabby if you are new here, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to y'all about the code switching that comes with being an introvert. If you are watching this video, you are probably already familiar with introversion and extroversion. It's been so big in the media and society in the past few years, but in a good way. I've been loving it. I've been able to learn so much about myself and other people around me. It's always good to know more about yourself, so I think so you can be who you really want to be the best version of yourself that you want to be, but really to be happy with yourself at the end of the day. Because as someone who classifies themselves as an introvert, when I first started realizing that that's what I was a few years ago, so many things started to make so much sense. So according to WebMD, an introvert is a person with qualities of a personality type known as introversion, which means that they feel more comfortable focusing on their inner thoughts and ideas rather than what's happening externally. And an extrovert is basically the opposite. The term extroversion describes an aspect of a personality that is often characterized by the expressive and outgoing patterns of behavior. People who are extroverts tend to be very talkative, sociable, active, and warm. So to me, being an introvert is just so very intimate. But I found that as an introvert, it sucks in a lot of ways because society just doesn't accept you, and it's one of those things that the world just doesn't see as good enough. I made a video a few years ago about how being quiet and shy is not the same. It's crazy because if you go to Google and ask Google to define introvert, it's going to tell you that an introvert is a shy person, which is totally not true. I mean, there could be some people who are introverted and who are shy, but a lot of us are not. But introverted people tend to be more quiet because we're more thoughtful, we're more in our heads than out of our heads. But that doesn't necessarily make somebody shy. In the world we live in, it's so loud and so talkative and so gregarious and ostentatious. Like everything just has to be so big, you know? When I first started coming to YouTube, like watching YouTube about 2017, 2018, I noticed that a lot of the creators would yell. When I first started the channel, I thought that I had to be like that too. It just felt so coarse against the grain, and I was like, I can't, like, this is not who I am. I can't just be sitting here screaming. It just goes to show how society and how the culture has been cultivated to really gravitate towards this one personality type. I just finished listening to this book a few weeks ago on Audible by Susan Cain. It's called Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. She pretty much went through the entire history of introversion and extroversion and was explaining how the world has been shaped to fit the extroverted type of person. There was this guy by the name Dale Carnegie. He was more a shy, quiet type of person, and when he started realizing that he wanted more, that he wanted great things out of life, he basically started changing himself to be able to go after what he wanted in business and finance. He ended up being a very successful guy, and he started writing books. I think he is one of the people who started the whole self-help initiative and world, how to gain influence, how to make friends, this whole concept of just being a person who was more outgoing. And it was so interesting because she was also talking about how even the school systems in the workplace is set up to accommodate this type of personality. In the workplace, they have cubicles, social areas for people to eat lunch and for people to chat. There's not really anywhere for somebody to have just a space to themselves. You're basically exposed to people all day. The same way with school, not only are you in a classroom setting, you also have to do projects, public speaking, work together, you brainstorm, you talk things out. All these things are created to make someone more extroverted because that's how the world sees successful people. The world sees successful people as people who can go out there and make people laugh and strike a conversation and be just strong and compelling. And the funny thing is that introverted people can do that too. When you talk about this extroverted personality, it sounds like
it's so great, it's so live, it's so awesome. I want to be that. I want more people to be like that.
You grow up around this and you seeing this and you see how people gravitate towards people like this, and as an introvert, you might start cultivating a little bit of self-hate because you want to be more like that and you just can't. I have this cousin, I love her so much. We went to school together in middle school for a little while before I changed schools, and she is just so outspoken. She's kind of loud. She doesn't really care what people thinks about her. She's blunt, and I always love that about her so much. I used to wish I was like that so much. It's funny because I told her this a few years ago and she was so surprised. She said she always wanted to be like me. And when you get to thinking about it, somebody that seems quiet on the outside looking in, you would think you don't want to be anything like them. You don't have much to think about them because they just seem boring. It's quite interesting that people think that quiet people have nothing to offer or nothing to talk about, when it's actually the complete opposite. People that are introspective go internally. They're always thinking about something. They could be thinking about themselves, or they could be thinking about the world. I find that people who are introverted tend to spend a lot of time like thinking about the world around them and the people around them, trying to understand how things work, how they go together, and how they piece together. People who have these qualities typically do have a lot to offer, but it's so overshadowed by such a happy-go-lucky, outgoing, extroverted personality that a person who is an introverted basically gets no shine whatsoever. You kind of get cast to the side like, oh no, you're not good enough, when introverted people are typically pretty thoughtful and hardworking and empathetic people. With the way that society has paved this way for introverted people, it really gets me at a place where sometimes I'm feeling like I just want to stay inside, because I realize that I have to code switch. Code switching is something that we hear most of the time in regards to racial discrimination and racial bias. I don't know about other cultures, but it's something that Black people have to deal with so much. We can be who we are and be ourselves when we're around family, friends, when we're at home, but the moment we step out of our doors and we go into a certain environment, or shoot, sometimes we don't even have to go outside of our doors. It's just making a phone call. You know, making a phone call to a business or an establishment, you automatically have to turn on this part of you who is not you. And I wanted to make sure that I was going about this topic in the correct way, so I went to look up the definition of code switching. And according to Harvard Business Review, code switching involves adjusting one's style of speech, appearance, behavior, and expression in ways that will optimize the comfort of others in exchange for fair treatment, quality service, and employment opportunities. That's something that Black people have been having to do forever, and honestly still have to do now. And for so many of us, it's so ingrained in us to basically act more white in order to get fair treatment and equal opportunity that sometimes it feels impossible to turn off. It's really awesome that this is coming out on social media and people are talking about it more, because so many of us have had to deal with this to the point where it's just automatic. When you find yourself in a certain situation or around certain people, it just turns on, and then you walk away from the situation like, yo, what the heck? It's been ingrained that this is what you have to do to get a chance. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to do to seal this opportunity. I've experienced this personally, and so many other Black people as well. But I'm also finding that it's the same when you're an introvert. When you're an introverted person, you can't just show up as yourself because people don't see you as enough. It's a double whammy as a Black person, because you might find yourself in situations where you're feeling like, even if you don't want to, but you're feeling like you have to code switch on two different levels. They're looking at you and they see what they see before you even speak. When it comes to introversion, you cover it up. You can only cover it up for so long. You wear a certain type of mask and it's exhausting. So again, the moment that you walk out of the door, you're making yourself susceptible to crumbling under the pressure that society has created to be this certain type of person. You don't talk enough. You're not social enough. You're not collaborative enough. And the funny thing is, yes, introverted people tend to like to spend more time alone, but they don't like to be alone. People that are introverted like to be around people, but just not a whole bunch of people, like random people. They like to be around a more small collective group of people, people who they know and they value and that they can really interact with. As introverted people, we value connection and intimacy. Extroverted people value connection too, but it doesn't have to be such on an intimate level, which they would call serious. You know, people see introverted people as boring people, but we just know what we like and we know what we don't like. So as an introvert, you can find yourself in a situation where you're thinking, man, do I stay true to myself and go to my desk and do my work like I really just want to do? Or do I go outside of myself and lean toward more of these extroverted tendencies and go chop it up with somebody in the hallway? It's always around you. I mentioned in my quiet video years ago that I had a coworker, and she said, you know, I didn't used to like you because you were too quiet and I just didn't trust you. I just thought that was funny. It didn't make sense to me, and it still doesn't, why you would not trust someone who's quiet. But the world has made people think that this quiet person who tends to be to themselves and just do their work and really just get the business and chat every now and again is some sociopathic psychopath who's just going to do something crazy one day, when it would just make more sense to me to confide in somebody who isn't the most talkative than to confide into somebody who talks and bounces around and just connects with everybody. No shade, but I'm just saying, I'm not afraid to go outside. I'm not afraid to talk to people. But that's the connotation. That's what people think, that this introverted type of person is a weirdo, quiet person who doesn't like to be around people, who doesn't have anything to offer, and is just boring. Like, we gotta be boring because we don't want to go to the club. We gotta be boring because we don't want to go to this huge event. And we gotta have nothing to offer just because we're not talking every second of a minute. Just imagine if we were all the same. The world would just be like a big party. And there's some people who probably would find that fun, but no, there has to be balance in the world. Every time you come around somebody as an introvert, you kind of feel that pressure. If you're not totally okay and happy with who you are and have accepted who you are, that's what it feels like as an introvert. When you come around somebody, you just feel automatic pressure to perform, like you need to do a certain thing or be a certain way, or people just are gonna think that you're weird. Both sides of the spectrum have so many great qualities, and there are some introverted people who are extremely shy, hate public speaking, and just don't want to be around people at all. And I'm not sure, I'm no doctor, but that could possibly be coming with a case of social anxiety. But it makes sense for somebody who's introverted to feel or develop a case of social anxiety, because it's just so much pressure. It's just so much pressure that it's easiest to not be around people, which makes you not want to be around people, which makes you avoid people. I was in this career group chat in Facebook where we were learning about the job market and applying for work and things like that. And one thing I've noticed is a huge shift when it comes to employment these days. Back in the day, you would fill out the application, you would send it, you would send a follow-up. If you got an interview, you would interview, you would send another follow-up thanking the interviewers. But it's so different now. And the way things are going right now, it's so hard out here for an introvert. It's so hard because it's not even just about that. If you apply for a job, there's a way that you can see it on Indeed, but you can definitely see it on LinkedIn. You can see how many people applied. Sometimes there's thousands of people within the first day. How does one compete with that? The best way to compete with that is networking. That is an introvert's nightmare. And it's even worse when you are having to try to network with somebody who's an absolute stranger. Introverts network better when it feels organic. I think somebody who's extroverted might be a little nervous, but they don't mind reaching out to somebody who they don't know to click with and get themselves in the door. That's really how people are starting to get their jobs, by people that they know. And in this group I was in, this woman was just sharing how she was so exhausted. She's more of an introvert. She was basically looking for tips on how she can better get through the day because she constantly had meetings. She said,
that's all I feel like doing today is just doing my work. I don't want to talk to anybody.
The comments were just flooded with responses like, you just have to get through it, maybe you should find a different role. It was very unfortunate because the woman was saying that she loved her job. There was just so much interaction with other people that was draining her, and she really just wanted to focus on her work. There were other people in the comments who even were introverts as well, and was just saying that you just have to put on this mask and push through it. And for somebody to say that, for somebody who's not this introverted type of personality, to tell somebody to do that, it kind of makes sense, right? But you're being someone you're not when you have to wear a mask and you're pretending, and it's so tiring. It's so exhausting. Like, imagine being somebody who really loves to talk and be social with people, and you are told to go into your cubicle or go into your office and stay in there all day and don't talk to anybody. That would probably be really hard for you. So somebody who likes to go to work, say hello to everybody, and then go in their office and work and come out every now and again, for that person to constantly be around people talking is so draining. Like, you go against the whole creation of who you are when you're forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do. And I just thought it was so sad that other people who can relate to this woman was telling her that she needed to keep doing what she was doing or find another job. It would make sense to find another job, but she actually loved her job. I'm not so sure if this is something that we will ever get away from in life. Unfortunately, there are just certain people who live by certain ways or personalities, or who meet certain features and characteristics that feel that they are superior to other people around them. It's one thing when you're young, but once you get older, you're grown. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't expect people to shift to be who you like them to be. It's unfortunate, but at this point in my life, y'all know on my channel I talk a lot about healing, self-development, and growing, things of that nature. I think the best bet would be to learn to really love yourself and accept yourself, because once I really started to accept myself, like, this is who I am, I cannot change this, I can only cover it up. That's when I really got comfortable with being comfortable with other people being uncomfortable around me. The introverted people, I think, really make other people uncomfortable. Some people are just not comfortable around silence. Some people just spend so much time wanting to socialize with other people that they don't take time to sit down and be still. I had a class one time where a teacher gave us an option to do a 5-minute speech or a 3-page paper for our project, and I chose the paper, and I was so grateful because I just felt so seen. She actually gave us an option, and I was able to choose the one that better suited me. This was in college. At this point, you know, how many public speaking classes can you take? How many projects can you do? Eventually you get it. You know, we all need to public speak. It's important, but come on, every project has to be public speaking. Do things that gear towards introverted people as well, because sometimes you really do have to be quiet and calculative and brainstorm on your own in real life. You're not always going to have somebody around to help you and talk you through. I think extroverted people suffered a lot during COVID because that social part of their life was cut out. They were miserable. But introverted people was like, hey. But that's not to say that introverted people don't like to go out too. We really do. We love to go out and have a good time. We like to do things that make us feel like we're being poured into. I have no shade or nothing towards extroverts. I have people in my life who are, but we're just different people. It's definitely more out there because of social media, and I love that. And maybe one day that shift will begin to happen where something seriously starts to take effect, where people can really just start accepting other people who they are. But whether that happens or not, the most important thing is to accept yourself regardless of anybody else does or not. Now when it comes to employment, I don't know how long that's going to turn around. You would have to have a really great boss to not just look at you as someone who's supposed to perform for other people and bring a live personality and big conversation and big laughs to the office. A lot of employers look for that for some reason. I thought I'd be a person who would never run a business. I was never interested in being a business person. I just wanted to go to work and do my job and get my check. But the older I get, the more I'm seeing that business might be the way for me to go, because I don't have to subject myself to an office environment or to people who want me to be a certain way. I can just do my work in my business and thrive being myself. In some ways, being a business owner might cause an introvert to step out of their comfort zone, but that's just life. That's with everybody in this world. Sometimes you do have to step out of your comfort zone to get somewhere you've never been, or to achieve something that you really want, or to create a life. But stepping outside of your comfort zone is totally different from putting on a mask and pretending to be someone that you're not. And as an introverted person through and through, I'm not interested in wearing a mask for the rest of my life. I love to talk, I love to have fun, I love to connect, I love to laugh. All these beautiful things of life I love. I just love doing them with genuine connection. Small talk is not one of those genuine connections. That's it for today, y'all. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I love you so much, and until the next one, and peace and love. I'm out.